A long time ago, after God's people, the Israelites, had crossed the Jordan River and entered the Promised Land, they stood before a great and powerful city called Jericho. Its walls were tall and strong, and no army had ever broken through them. But God gave them a strange instruction. "March around the city once each day for 6 days," God told Joshua. "On the 7th day, march around it 7 times. Then shout, and I will give you the city." Joshua trusted God completely. He told the people exactly what the Lord had said. Day after day, the Israelites walked silently around Jericho. The people inside the city laughed at them. "Look at them," they mocked. "They think walking will defeat us." But on the 7th day, everything changed. The priests blew their trumpets. The people shouted with all their strength. Suddenly, the ground shook, and the mighty walls of Jericho came crashing down. "Go in," Joshua commanded. "The city is yours, just as the Lord promised." The Israelites rushed in and conquered the city. It was a great victory, not by their power, but by God's hand. But before they entered, Joshua had given a very important command from God. "Do not take anything from the city for yourselves. All the silver, gold, and valuable things belong to the Lord. They must go into his treasury. If anyone takes what is devoted to God, it will bring trouble on all Israel." The people listened carefully. They knew this was serious. This was not just about rules, it was about obedience to God. Among the Israelites was a man named Achan. He was from the tribe of Judah. At first, he followed along like everyone else. He marched. He shouted. He watched the walls fall. He entered the city with the others. But then, something happened. As Achan walked through the ruins of Jericho, his eyes caught something shining beneath the dust. He bent down and brushed it off. It was a beautiful robe from Babylon, soft, colorful, and unlike anything he had ever seen. Next to it were pieces of silver and a bar of gold. Achan's heart began to beat faster. "No one is watching," he whispered to himself. He looked around. The other soldiers were busy. No one seemed to notice him. But Joshua said not to take anything. A small voice in his heart warned. Achan hesitated. "This could change my life," he thought. "My family would never be poor again." The struggle inside him grew stronger. He knew what God had commanded. He knew this was wrong. But the desire for those treasures pulled at him like a rope. Finally, Achan made a choice. Quickly, he gathered the robe, the silver, and the gold. He hid them under his cloak and walked away, trying to act normal. No one stopped him. No one saw. Or so he thought. Later that night, inside his tent, Achan dug a hole in the ground. His hands trembled as he buried the stolen items deep beneath the earth. He covered them carefully, making sure no one would ever find out. "There," he said softly. "No one will know." But Achan was wrong. Even though no human eyes had seen him, God had seen everything. And what Achan did in secret would soon bring trouble, not just to himself, but to the entire nation of Israel. The victory at Jericho had filled the people with joy. They believed nothing could stop them now. But hidden beneath the surface, a silent danger was growing. Achan lay down to sleep that night, thinking his secret was safe. But the next day would reveal a truth he never expected. The sun rose brightly over the camp of Israel the next morning. The people were still celebrating their great victory at Jericho. Laughter filled the air, and hope burned strongly in their hearts. "We are unstoppable," some of the soldiers said proudly. "If God gave us Jericho, no city can stand before us." Joshua, the leader of Israel, stood quietly, thinking about their next step. Not far from Jericho was a smaller city called Ai. Compared to Jericho, it seemed weak and easy to conquer. So Joshua sent some men to spy on the land. When the spies returned, they spoke confidently. "Do not send all the people," they said. "Only 2,000 or 3,000 men are enough to defeat Ai. It is a small city." Joshua listened and agreed. "Very well," he said. "Let us go forward." The chosen soldiers marched toward Ai with confidence. They expected another easy victory, just like Jericho. But this time, something was different. As they approached the city, the men of Ai came out to fight. At first, the Israelites stood firm, but suddenly, fear spread among them. Their strength seemed to disappear. Confusion filled their hearts. "Retreat!" someone shouted. The army of Israel began to run. The men of Ai chased them down the slope, striking them down. 36 Israelite soldiers were killed that day. The rest fled in panic, their hearts melting with fear. Back in the camp, the news spread quickly. "We were defeated," one soldier said, his voice shaking. "How can this be?" another cried. "Did God not promise to be with us?" Fear and sadness filled the camp. The joy they had felt after Jericho was gone. Now, there was only confusion. When Joshua heard the news, his heart broke. He tore his clothes and fell face down on the ground before the ark of the Lord. The elders of Israel joined him. They put dust on their heads, a sign of deep sorrow. Joshua cried out, "O Lord God, why did you bring us across the Jordan River? Was it to let our enemies defeat us? What will happen now? The people of this land will hear about this and surround us." Joshua lay there until evening, grieving and confused. Then the Lord spoke to him. "Stand up, Joshua," God said firmly. "Why are you lying on your face like this?" Joshua lifted his head slowly, listening. "Israel has sinned," God continued. "They have broken my covenant. They have taken what was devoted to me. They have stolen, lied, and hidden it among their belongings." Joshua's heart pounded. "Because of this," God said, "I will not be with you unless you remove the sin from among you. That is why you could not stand against your enemies." A heavy silence filled Joshua's heart. This was not just a military defeat. This was something deeper. Someone had disobeyed God, and it had affected everyone. "Go," God commanded. "Tell the people to consecrate themselves. Tomorrow, I will reveal who is responsible. The one who has taken what is devoted must be dealt with." Joshua rose slowly to his feet. His face was serious, his heart heavy. He gathered the people and spoke to them. "Make yourselves ready," he said. "Set yourselves apart before the Lord. There is sin among us. Tomorrow, God will show us the one who has done this." The people looked at one another in shock. "Who could have done such a thing?" they whispered. Fear began to spread through the camp. No one knew what would happen next. But one man, Achan, stood quietly among them. His face was still, but inside, his heart was racing. He knew the truth. The things he had hidden beneath his tent suddenly felt heavier than ever before. And now, the moment of reckoning was drawing near. Because what was done in secret was about to be revealed in the open. The next morning came with a heavy silence over the camp of Israel. No laughter, no celebration, only fear and waiting. Joshua rose early. He knew what had to be done. He called all the tribes of Israel to come forward, just as the Lord had commanded. Thousands of people gathered, standing in lines, their faces filled with worry. "Today," Joshua said, his voice strong but serious, "the Lord will reveal the one who has brought trouble upon Israel." A deep hush fell over the crowd. One by one, the tribes came forward. The tribe of Judah was chosen. Achan felt his chest tighten. "This cannot be happening," he thought, trying to stay calm. Then Joshua called the clans of Judah to step forward. The clan of the Zerahites was chosen. Achan swallowed hard. His hands began to shake. "Stay calm, no one knows," he whispered to himself. Next, the families of the Zerahites came forward. The family of Zabdi was chosen. Now Achan could feel his heart pounding loudly in his ears. "This is too close," he thought. Finally, each man from Zabdi's family stepped forward one by one. And then, Achan was chosen. A gasp moved through the people. Joshua stepped closer to him, his eyes filled with both sadness and firmness. "My son," Joshua said gently, "give glory to the Lord, the God of Israel. Tell me what you have done. Do not hide it from me." For a moment, Achan stood still. His secret, which he thought was buried deep, had now been brought into the light. There was no escape. His shoulders dropped. His strength left him. "I have sinned," Achan said quietly. The crowd leaned in, listening. "When I saw the plunder," he continued, his voice trembling, "I saw a beautiful robe from Babylon, 200 shekels of silver, and a bar of gold weighing 50 shekels. Tears filled his eyes. I wanted them, so I took them. They are hidden in the ground inside my tent, with the silver underneath." The people stood in silence. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others looked down, saddened. Joshua immediately sent messengers to Achan's tent. They ran quickly, entered the tent, and began to dig. Just as Achan had said, they found the robe, the silver, and the gold, hidden beneath the ground. They brought the stolen items back and laid them out before Joshua and all the people. There was no doubt. The truth was clear. Achan's sin had been hidden, but not from God. Joshua looked at Achan with deep sorrow. "Why have you brought this trouble on us?" he asked. No one spoke. The weight of the moment was heavy. The people now understood something they had not fully seen before. One person's disobedience had affected the entire nation. Their defeat at Ari was not because God was weak. It was because sin had entered their camp. The joy of victory had turned into sorrow because of one hidden choice. Achan stood there, exposed and broken. The treasure he once thought would bring him happiness had instead brought him shame. And now, the people of Israel knew. God sees everything. Nothing can be hidden from him. The time had come to deal with the sin, just as God had commanded. Because only then could Israel be restored. The air was heavy as all Israel stood together, looking at Achan, the man whose hidden sin had brought trouble upon them all. The joy they once felt was gone, replaced by sorrow and a deep understanding of how serious disobedience to God truly is. Joshua stood before the people, his face filled with both sadness and responsibility. He knew that God is holy and just, and that sin could not be ignored. Following the Lord's command, Achan, along with everything connected to his sin, the robe, the silver, and the gold, was taken away from the camp to a place called the Valley of Achan. The people walked slowly behind, their hearts heavy. No one spoke. The silence said everything. This was not just about punishment. This was about learning. This was about understanding that God sees the heart and desires obedience from his people. As they stood in the valley, Joshua spoke one last time. "Why have you brought this trouble on us?" he asked again, his voice filled with sorrow. Achan had no answer. His choice, made in secret, had now become a lesson for the entire nation. The people carried out what God had commanded. It was a difficult and painful moment for Israel, but it marked a turning point. When it was over, they raised a large pile of stones over that place. It stood as a reminder, something the people would never forget. From that day on, the place was called the Valley of Trouble. But something important happened after this. The anger of the Lord turned away. Peace slowly returned to the camp of Israel. God then spoke to Joshua again. "Do not be afraid," he said. "Do not be discouraged. Take the whole army with you and go up to Ari. I have given it into your hands." This time, things would be different. This time, there was no hidden sin among them. Joshua obeyed, and the people followed God's instructions carefully. When they went up against Ari again, God was with them. And this time, they won. The same city that had defeated them before was now completely conquered. The people rejoiced, not just because of victory, but because they had learned something far greater. They learned that victory does not come from strength or numbers. It comes from obedience to God. They learned that sin, even when hidden, has consequences. And they learned that when sin is confessed and removed, God restores. The pile of stones in the Valley of Achan remained there for years, reminding everyone who passed by. No secret is hidden from God, and one person's choices can affect many. Moral lessons from the story. Hidden sin is never truly hidden from God. Even when no one else sees, God sees everything. One wrong choice can affect many people. Achan's decision brought trouble to the whole nation. Obedience to God brings victory and peace. When Israel obeyed, they succeeded. Sin has consequences, but God also brings restoration. When the sin was dealt with, God helped them again. God desires honesty and a clean heart. It is always better to do what is right, even when no one is watching. This story reminds us that our choices matter, not just for ourselves, but for others too. When we choose what is right, we walk in God's blessing. When we hide wrong things, it can bring trouble. But there is always hope. Because when we turn back to God, He is ready to restore us. Before you leave this story, take a quiet moment and think, what choices am I making when no one is watching? Achan thought his secret would only affect him, but it brought pain to his whole community. In the same way, our actions, good or bad, can touch the lives of our family, our friends, and the people who trust us. The way you speak, the things you hide, the decisions you make, they don't stay with you alone. They can either bring peace, trust, and joy into your home or bring hurt, confusion, and distance. So today, choose wisely. Choose honesty. Choose obedience. Choose to do what is right even when it is hard. Because one good choice can also change everything. It can bring healing, unity, and blessing to your family. Type this in the comment section and say it out loud. I choose to do what is right, even when no one is watching. My choices will bring peace and blessing to my family.